Copper Gardens again, back at the home copper castle where we do whatever it is you want to call it with copper. And in this case with a piece of stone, which we showed you on a previous video a short while ago. We call it, or it is called, Kansas flagstone. Oh my God. It's a good thing I'm not in the real big movies where we'd have to do a retake. It's Kansas fence post. We're just going to muddle through no matter what. Told you about that before. It's an interesting stone, very nice, soft, plenty hard enough for what we're using it for, but also nicely soft enough. You see the running marks here. That's not the stone. That's my overflow of water that I put in while I'm drilling to place copper right into the stone. So it looks like it just grew out or through it. We did the same thing here with some of our smaller artwork that is just sort of a transition bit of art that will break up the lines of the stone. The stone's beautiful in its own right, but I just kind of felt like it needed a little break, maybe a little distraction. So for whatever that's worth, we've done it. I think it's going to look nice once it's colored. It's significantly different from the leaves that'll be going onto the gate itself. I wanted it to have a striking change of pace from the proposed gate. Here's a quick sketch that we did months ago for the client. The client liked it. We flipped only one thing. We flipped the gate around so that the primary opening is on the left as you approach rather than on the right. A modest change which really has very little bearing on the overall project. Notice too, though, that the point being, what I'm trying to do is get the lines of the artwork to follow through the gate. Even the top rail follows quite nicely, I believe, to the top outer rail of the tailpiece over here. This actually dies into the ground over near the garage where there is sufficient plant material that any deterrent for people crossing through where they're not wanted to will be completely adequate with this setup. Later, of course, recognize that this is just a temporary stub in piece, so I can clamp my things together, and I'll drop at least one more down into a hole that'll be drilled in this temporary table. This is just a piece that represents grade or approximate grade so that I can see where I'm going, and I'll give it enough material underneath as I did over there so that we can lock in 2 points in concrete, and then the rest of it will be locked into the stone here one way or another. In preparing the stone, I had to do a little bit of grinding and cutting away and chipping and chiseling to get a relatively flat place. And then you can see I had to add a shim. But once this is all colored out nice and bronzy tone, and we will not be using this exact hardware, it'll really look quite decent. In fact, it won't look like much of anything. It'll pretty much disappear into the background. So notice that we're building it as one unit. I will cut it later and split it so that it'll be a double swing gate, but for now it just helps to see the entire scene as one scene, so it looks very contiguous. If you build them a piece at a time and hope they come out pretty close, well, they might come out pretty close, but what if they don't? This is going to be very, very close. You will see this line pick up again right over here. One or both of these smaller pieces will do the same over here, and then it will fan out and make a kind of a similar amount of infill before we begin to put even smaller branches on and add the leaves and all. So I think that may be just about as much of an update as we need right now. Notice that I braze only one side as I'm building the piece. Once I get everything done on one side, then we'll make one final pass over the whole thing on the back side, brazing it all up solid. That way when you chase the heat around, you can follow your heat and not lose as much. If you turn it over and just do one at a time, you're actually wasting quite a good amount of acetylene in doing that. And mind you, this has to be done with acetylene. You cannot adequately do this in any lifetime that I know of with MAP gas or propane gas. It just doesn't do it fast enough. So that's where we are. Thought it would be maybe a good time to break. Maybe we went a little too far, but oh well, that's where we are. Hope you enjoyed this little update, and we'll catch up again in a few weeks to show you where we are at that time. Thanks for viewing.